Yeah, the storage market has been absolutely fascinating. I actually showed a slide at one of the analyst meetings, a securities analyst, about our product line over the last, I think it was 12 years. And what I showed was that the cost per gig has come down at 40% per year for more than a decade. I mean, that's an enormous decline. It's faster than Moore's Law. And yet the storage market and revenue has gone up, right? So costs coming down to 40% per year has got to mean that the data is about doubling every year to consume that. And sure enough, there's enormous elasticity here. I mean, the cheaper the storage is, the more people want to store large objects. And whether they come from, the computer animated objects like digital media, or whether they come from, seismic models of what's underneath the earth for oil and gas exploration or whatever, people just love to have more data. And as it gets cheaper, they also like to have more resiliency in the sense of more copies, right? So I'll replicate everything in my primary data center to a secondary data center, so I've got business continuity. And the cheaper it gets, the more they find ways to consume it. That said, right now, given the economic conditions around the globe, most of the IT community is being asked to, and most businesses are looking to get more efficient, right? That translates to the IT guys. They've got to get more for less, and their budgets are under pressure. And so we've been working for years, actually, not on just scaling out storage, but making sure that there was technology there to maximize efficiency. We started on this path about 5 years ago. We introduced the over-provisioning capability, where you can basically reclaim all the unused storage and put it in a single pool, drive utilizations from 30 or 40% to 70 to 80%. But then we followed it with things like cloning capability. We make virtual replicas, and the kinds of things like deduplication for the primary. We can reclaim a lot of the storage that has basically the same block written many times. And so consequently, we have customers that use our storage in such a way that, in fact, one of them I know runs an outsourcing operation. If you list the contents of one of our systems, it says there's 4 times as much data stored in there as a physical disk underneath it. That's 400% utilization. That's pretty good. And I remember one day when Oracle told us about, we could help them by cloning databases basically for production, testing and so on before applications were promoted. And I remember we got all done, and one of the vice presidents looked at me and said, if you do this, you're probably going to sell us a lot less storage. And my answer was, yeah, but if I do, I might sell somebody else a lot more. And in fact, that's been really a lot of the value proposition ever since the dawn of time, right? The snapshot capability was a technology for freezing an image without taking up any physical space to provide a recovery point. And the only thing that you had to use space for was changes going forward. The basic foundation of the snapshot was used for the current version of the file. And that kind of thinking about, we can be more space efficient, we can make we can help customers get more value out of what they buy, essentially buy less and get more for it, has been a hallmark of ours. The current promotion we've got going is the one with server virtualization, right? If you look at NetApp storage for a virtualized server environment, we guarantee you can buy half as much to get the job done as any other vendor in the industry. And in tough economic times, that kind of proposition really resonates with the customer community. I can buy half as much? Let's talk. Because of this change in the efficiency models, it's really interesting to think about the transitions that have occurred in the way people think. In fact, I tell customers, you shouldn't measure us in terms of cost per gig. In fact, I said, I don't even care if you buy the gigabytes from me. Use our V-series in front of somebody else's disks if that's what you want to do, and use cheap storage. The value we're providing is all around data management and efficiency of the data management, helping customers manage the scale and manage the protection issues and automatic migration of things going forward, and policy-based management. And that's the value we provide. It's not around the capacity so much. In fact, I get a kick out of the way some of the market researchers look at capacity figures. My capacity shipped could go down, and we could actually be in a much better position in the market, just because the value add we're going to provide across somebody else's disks. Who cares? Like I said, we're not a hardware company in the first place. We don't build the disks. We don't build the processors. I've got 1,800 engineers or so. They're all software engineers trying to figure out how to help customers manage the data they have better and get more value out of the disks they do buy. And that's really the core value proposition of NetApp. I do feel that our view of storage and storage infrastructure is very unique in the industry. It always has been, really. Right from the dawn, we said NAS, or network attached storage, is a better way to do databases, for instance, all the way through the notion of thinking about the storage infrastructure much like a network, right, where a single box ought to be able to do any kind of interface NAS, SAN, iSCSI, fiber channel, who cares? The core services inside are the same, right? And you ought to be able to manage an infrastructure that you can scale out in such a way that, all of the services underneath, snapshotting, provisioning, replication, whatever, security, are the same independent of how the data is accessed. So we've had a different view from the very beginning. And I do think that, that view carries over into the discussion around capacity. We don't measure our success in terms of capacity shipped. It's interesting. It's a little, kind of a factoid, but our capacity shipped right now is going down probably because of things like deduplication and cloning. But you know what? Our margins are really good. We're acquiring new customers. We're gaining share, et cetera. So it's not about the bytes. And I think that's the difference again between us and a lot of the other vendors in the industry. We don't measure our success by bytes shipped. It's value produced. Steve, our view has always been that the tech sector, for whatever reason, as Andy Grove said, horizontal focus wins. And you can see it again and again, whether it's Intel at processors or Microsoft at operating systems or Oracle at databases or Cisco at networks or whatever. The companies that really focus on doing one thing, one layer, if you will, in that stack are the ones that are maximally efficient. They gain expertise and they keep coming to market with new and innovative solutions. And as a result, they gain share and they gain customers and so on. And so our view is, we can build a great company just in this one horizontal layer. And I keep getting asked all the time, is that a big enough market to build a big company? And the way we get it sized up right now, and just in terms of products and software, we address about $30 billion in market, and we're only about a $4 billion company. So we've got a lot of headroom. And if you look at the broader market beyond that, included switches and all kinds of data management software, the product market right now is about 50 billion. There's about 15 of that or so, 20 of that we don't address. And so there's lots of opportunities just inside the storage infrastructure that we think will allow us to sustain our growth for a very long term. So we don't have to think about getting outside of our area of specialty for at least a decade. Yeah, I've been the CEO here now for at least 14 years. I joined the company in 1994. In fact, this October 2009 will be my 15th anniversary. And that's a very long time. I had a series of life goals, and I've achieved most of them. One of them that I had that I kind of, had crossed off the list that I thought would never be practical was being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And we're not that far away from hitting the Fortune 500 point. And whether or not I stay long enough to achieve that one, at this point, I almost don't care because it's going to happen. I have no doubt it's going to happen. I always thought I'd take over one, a big company, be the CEO, and I didn't think I'd build one from scratch, but it's even been more fulfilling. My other life goal is to spoil my grandchildren. I'm happy to report that my son and his wife, my oldest child and his wife, had their first baby in November of 2008, little Andrew John, and so the project of spoiling my grandchildren is now underway. And so I have to think about moving on in life too. I've taken a public position that I probably won't be the CEO of this company at the time I'm 60, and I turned 58 just about 2 months ago. So somewhere in the next couple of years, I think we'll start talking about transition. Anyway, when we talk about transitioning CEO, I still want to remain as part of the company. I was appointed chairman here recently, and even after I turn over the CEO title to somebody else, I'd like to remain as executive chairman and stay involved in strategy, stay involved with the customers, and still have a presence here with the employee population as well. So, I'm kind of looking forward to a little less demanding calendar, but still having an active presence inside the company.